Welcome, everyone. We will begin our service now with more lovely music from Scott. Everyone on Zoom will be muted as we join with those in our sanctuary listening to our in-gathering music. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our community worship with the Unitarian Universalist Congregation of Charlottesville. I am Dawn Dirks, happy to be serving as your worship weaver today. I am joining you from my home in Albany, Oregon, on the ancestral land of the Kalapuya people. We find ourselves this morning in many sanctuaries, some, like me, in our homes near and far, and some in our physical sanctuary at Rugby Road. For centuries before us, this land has been the dwelling place of the Monacan people. Later on, this was the location of plantations worked on by enslaved African Americans. We honor all those who dwelt here before and all those whose lives led to this moment of our gathering as a community of memory and hope. Steve Brecker, member of the Board of Trustees, will now offer us a welcome.
Good morning. I am Steve Brecker, and I'm a member of your Board of Trustees. It's my pleasure to welcome all members and guests to our worship service today. For those members interested in following the process of our search for a developmental minister, the board encourages people to visit the developmental minister search pages on our website. I will post the link in the chat box. This year, the board is especially interested in looking at how our congregation can be more welcoming and inclusive. We want you to know what our strengths are we want to know what our strengths are in being warm and welcoming, and also what barriers we might present that could keep newcomers from feeling like they belong. We are also prioritizing working on the stewardship ministry and continuing to be relevant in the larger Charlottesville community. I will be available during the fellowship session after the service to hear your ideas about our church's work, and I look forward to seeing you there.
Joining me this morning in leading our service is Scott DeVoe, Reverend Leia Derlin-Jones, and Debbie Norton. We are so grateful, as always, to Sean Scally and to Bailey Reed for their tech support today, and to Ellie Ransom for her video artistry. We are called to worship this morning with words from Reverend Judith Mannheim. We gather together in this space to honor and understand our lives. We bring our pasts and would share them, our dreams and would express them. We use words, song, silence, and gesture. Words cannot define our lives, but they enable us to reach out to each other, to tell and to listen, and that we may be renewed, connected, unburdened. Apprehend with wonder the lives of those around you, for from wonder into wonder, existence opens.
For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. Oh, for each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth, keepers of faith, makers of peace, and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are mothers of courage, fathers of time, daughters of dust, and the sons of great visions. We're sisters of mercy, brothers of love, lovers of life, and the builders of nations. We're seekers of truth and keepers of faith. We are makers of peace and the wisdom of ages. We are our grandmother's prayers. We are our grandfather's dreamings, and we are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. We are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. We are the breath of our ancestors. We are the Spirit of God. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. For each child that's born, a morning star rises and sings to the universe who we are. We are one.
I now invite Margaret and Michael Gorman to come forward in our Rugby Road Sanctuary to light our sanctuary's chalice. As they light our common flame, you are invited to join with me in the words for the lighting of the chalice. We gather this hour as people of faith, with joys and sorrows, gifts and needs. We light this beacon of hope, sign of our quest for truth and meaning, in celebration of the life we share together. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the Church of the Open Minds. This is the Church of the Helping Hands. This is the Church of the Loving Hearts. If you have a chalice in your home, please light it now.
let me tell you how important our stories are. Once there was a rabbi who, whenever he sensed that his community was in danger, would go into the forest in a very specific spot. He'd light a fire, offer up certain fragrant incense, and pray a specific prayer. Every time, without fail, his prayer was answered and a miracle occurred. When that rabbi passed the mantle on to one of his disciples, that person went into the woods and they lit the roaring fire and they sprinkled in the incense, but they couldn't remember the exact words to the prayer. And they said, God, this is going to have to be enough. And they dwelled in faith. And lo and behold, the miracle occurred and the people were saved. In the next generation, another rabbi took on that role and went into that specific spot and said, I don't know how to start a fire, but I'm here and we need the help. And lo and behold, the prayer was heard and the miracle occurred. In the next generation, the rabbi had forgotten the location, didn't know how to light a fire, couldn't remember specifically which incense or the words to that prayer, but she simply went before the God of her understanding with a request. And lo, behold, the miracle occurred. This story illustrates the gifts in holding our history and continuing to show up to the traditions that have supported us and supported our people throughout time, but showing up as we are, as this moment in history. Doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do. It doesn't matter what you need or what you're going through. Don't you hold it all in, 'cause everybody ought to see. Don't let your truth be drowned out. Yours is a voice we need. We need to hear you. We need to know you. Show us your dance, 'cause everyone ought to see. Sing out your song now. Tell us your story. Live in your own way. Be a part of our history. It doesn't matter where you go. It doesn't matter where you've been or who has shut you out, 'cause we are gonna let you in. It doesn't matter what you know. You are fruit from our family tree. Shout your truth to the rafters. Yours is a voice we need. We need to hear you. We need to know you. Show us your dance. Everyone ought to see. Sing out your song now. Tell us your story. Live in your own way. Be a part of our history. We need to hear you. We need to know you. Show us your dance. Everyone ought to see. Sing out your song now. Tell us your story. Live in your own way. Be a part of our history. In the making. In the
we've been given permission to take our masks off when we're speaking on the chancel. So, whew, it's wonderful to be able to do that. And it's wonderful to say good morning to everyone here in our physical sanctuary on Rugby Road and to the sanctuaries of your homes, those of us who are joining via Zoom. Good morning, everyone. It is so wonderful to be worshiping together this morning. And I am grateful for Leia Morris, the woman you just experienced, with her story and her song and what she shares with us. She offers so much wisdom about the importance of our stories and how meaningful it can be to keep showing up for the traditions that have supported us and our people over time. It is a gift to be able to show up in this moment throughout history. As Leah's song says, we want to hear you, to know you. Show us your dance. Sing us your song. So in that spirit, I invite us all now to rise in body or spirit and join in singing hymn number 1024, Spirit Says Do. And I invite you, whether you're here in our sanctuary or you're at home, to let yourself really have fun as you sing this hymn. You can move, you can dance, you can sing. You don't need to look up the hymnal words unless you want to, because they're going to be projected for you. So let yourself move in whatever way the Spirit says do.
You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do, oh Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. When the Spirit says sing, you got to sing, oh Lord. You got to sing when the Spirit says sing. 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 You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. When the Spirit says dance, you got to dance, oh Lord. You got to dance when the Spirit says dance. 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 You got to shout when the Spirit says shout. You got to shout when the Spirit says shout. When the Spirit says shout, you gotta shout, oh Lord. You gotta shout when the Spirit says shout. 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 You got to do when the Spirit says do. You got to do when the Spirit says do. When the Spirit says do, you got to do, oh Lord. You got to do when the Spirit says do. 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 Spirit says do.
Come
comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Sing with me, yeah, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul, yeah. Sing with me, sing with me, sing with me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Speak for me, speak for me, speak for me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Dance with me, dance with me, dance with me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, comfort me, comfort me, oh my soul. Comfort me, oh my soul.
Every Sunday, as a central part of our worship, we invite one another to give financial gifts to support the ongoing vital ministries of this congregation. We also feature important social action causes, inviting you to give special gifts for the needs of our wider community. Today, our social action collection is for our hospital meal packet program, where we provide emergency food assistance for people who come to the University of Virginia Medical Center from outside our area. The recipients do not have local support while they accompany a loved one who is receiving care at the hospital or are here themselves for extended outpatient treatment and do not have money to buy food for themselves. Margaret Gorman is the chair of this important initiative. Here is a short video she made to tell us more about it.
Hello friends, this is Margaret from UU Charlottesville. I'm going to show you some of the items that your generous donation to the Social Action Collection for November will allow us to procure. This is the meal packet project that has been going for 10 years with assistance of the children in our church. I'll start off by showing you some of the beautiful cards that we have that are very important for the meal packets. A meal packet is made up of enough food to feed one person for one day that goes into a Ziploc bag, like that. It goes to the social work office at the University of Virginia Medical Center when we get the call that it's needed, and the social workers will give this food to people who come from outside our area as either outpatient or as caregivers to someone who's in the hospital and who do not have the friends or family to help support them. And many of them cannot eat if they do not have our meal packets. The charity that we've assisted for 10 years has closed down, he's retired. And before Reverend Clegg retired, he gave us all of his remaining paper goods, plastic bags, cutlery that he had in his office. And they're now stored at my house, which is the new Social Action Center for Meal Packet Project. Your generous donation will allow us to buy food. And that's, of course, critical and the most expensive part of the meal packet. I'm finding that the supplies are much more limited, and it's more difficult to shop for meal packet foods right now with the COVID restrictions and quirky supplies. However, when the call has come, I have enough food, and I am able to get enough to fill up the rest of the bags that were partly filled before we all closed down for COVID. And then we take them over to the loading dock at UVA and deliver them. Thanks very much for your generous support. Bye now.
Margaret wants everyone to know that the social workers help make sure meal packets are distributed wherever there is a need. Right now, the demand is in the pediatric and neonatal intensive care units. The social work office can give people small gift cards for an occasional hot meal at the cafeteria, but the meal packets are the primary source of nutrition, and for some people, for the entire time they are with their loved one at the hospital. Leon Henry, clinical supervisor of social work, expresses the hospital's deepest appreciation for our meal packet program. Next Sunday, when we gather for our Sanctuary in Action at Darden Tow Park, we aspire to make over 100 meal packets together to donate to the hospital. Thank you for your financial support and generosity for this important program. You can give your financial support to our hospital meal packet program by texting to give, giving online, or mailing in a check. Those of you in the sanctuary today can leave cash or a check in the basket at the front or go online to give. And of course, we appreciate your offerings to support the ongoing ministries of the church. Some of you made a financial pledge to the congregation and have automatic deductions made each week. We honor that. Some of you give your pledge annually. We honor that. For those of you who like to give weekly online, this is your opportunity to do so. For those of you in the church sanctuary, you can come forward to leave an offering in the basket at the front. There are so many ways that we give and receive gifts in this community. Our board and our staff are dedicated to stewarding all of our gifts well with mission and vision. Together, we build the future of our congregation and our larger community. I am thankful we are all on this journey together. I am thankful for our generous hearts. And now let us dedicate all of the many gifts together by saying, we accept your gifts with gratitude. May we use them wisely for the highest good.
From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you
ministry theme for the month of November is holding history. Many faiths and religious traditions use a lectionary or other guide to direct which portions of the Bible or other sacred texts to study on a particular day or in a certain season or time of the year. There are individual Unitarian Universalists whose spiritual practice has them use a lectionary, though as a denomination, we do not follow one. Instead, some UU congregations, including ours, practice theme-based ministry. We use Soul Matters themes and materials for our worship services, our Soul Matters small groups, and in our children and family faith development program. Our middle and high school groups explore these same themes now and again, too. Reverend Linda shared with me last week that she has family members attending 4 different UU churches, and each of these congregations is exploring right now our same theme of holding history. I think it is lovely that there are so many of us reflecting theologically and centering ourselves on a shared theme. I like to know that we are engaging in learning together by exploring a topic across our congregation's generations, as well as across other UU congregations. Focusing on these common themes takes our individual and congregational experiences and reinforces our connections to a larger whole. It is good to remember our connection to larger circles. As we've been moving through November, I've been thinking a lot about this month's theme and what it means to hold history. It isn't surprising that as this theme has been on the forefront of my mind, I've been seeing history unfolding around me everywhere. Because that's what history does. It unfolds around us and within us all the time. In this past week, I've heard multiple news stories, and I've said to myself, oh, that's a way that we, or as a culture, or a country, or a people, are holding history. For example, I learned this week about Crystal Wapepa, an Indigenous woman and chef in Oakland, California, whose love of cooking has been with her since her Oklahoma childhood. After more than a decade of catering, she is opening her own restaurant, and she hopes food will introduce people to her culture. She told NPR, quote, "At the end of the day, that's what I want, to make people fully aware, or people just to realize whose land they are on. I feel that Native American communities, Native American people are so forgotten. So that's my job, to actually make everyone aware how good our foods are. Everybody has their job, and my job is to cook beautiful native ingredients and put them on the plate," end quote. Crystal Wipapa is helping us hold history. She's helping us hold history with an open hand, encouraging new understandings of long-held beliefs about the Indigenous people of this land and who they were and who they are and what they value. I also heard a report this week that the US Navy launched and christened a ship named in honor of slain gay rights leader Harvey Milk, who served in the Navy during the Korean War, but was discharged after being questioned about his sexual orientation. The reporter said, quote, "Naming the ship after an icon of the LGBTQ rights movement represents a symbolic milestone for the military following a long history in which gay service members were unable to serve openly. Secretary of the Navy Carlos de Toro said it helps right the wrongs of the past and shows a commitment to the current and future LGBTQ service members. It is estimated that 100,000 veterans have been discharged from military service because of their sexual orientation. 100,000 veterans discharged from military service because of their sexual orientation. End quote. This lifting up of Harvey Milk and the symbolic reparation by the Navy helps acknowledge the many people who have suffered and been treated unjustly due to their sexual orientation or their gender identity. This story helps us. It helps us hold history with an open hand, encouraging the letting go and the healing from pain, but not the forgetting of past hurts and wrongs. There were other significant events just in this past week. Observances marking Veterans Day, the UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow, the trial in our town seeking justice, or the violence that occurred here August 11th and 12th of 2017. History unfolding before us and around us. All these events and more in the last week, let alone the past month or year or years, show us history is unfolding around us. And it is important to name this and to know that part of our work is to notice what is happening now and to ask ourselves soul-searching questions and to hold new truths alongside what we've been taught and told about the past. It is our work to be mindful of narratives emerging or arising that tell different truths about the past and the present. And then, if we can hold our new understandings with an open hand, we can continue to be transformed by new ideas, new understandings, and new experiences. We live in a time rich with opportunity for cultivating new and more honest understandings of history, with books and webinars and films and podcasts and blogs and classes and videos and conversations and more. The number of opportunities for expanding our thinking can feel overwhelming. I can't keep up with it. At least that's what it feels like sometimes to me. Does it feel that way to you? I see a few heads nodding here in the sanctuary. It makes me want to grasp and I'll try and hold tightly to what I know, to hold on to something that feels solid and certain. Yet we need to move through these feelings of overwhelm to perhaps relax our grip. We need to find some place to start or to continue cultivating our more honest understandings of history and to see ourselves holding history with an open hand. We don't have to do it all, to read all the things, to listen to all the things, to study all the things, yet we need to do something. I've been listening the past couple of weeks to Ibram X. Kendi's book, How to Be an Anti-Racist, on my commute to and from church. It is helping me expand my thinking about how racism is alive in our lives every day and what we can do about it. Kendi expresses that to be radically anti-racist calls for a radical reorientation of your consciousness. His book is a powerful resource that is helping me in my reorientation, and I commend it to you. Other places where I find information that points me in ways I can keep learning about racial justice include the weekly You Care newsletter that our own Frank Dukes manages. You Care stands for University and Community Action for Racial Equity and is a coalition founded with the goal of understanding and addressing racial harms that may be seen in the community and in the university. One of the taglines at the bottom of this newsletter each week is, quote, "We have prompted changes in how UVA understands and represents its history," end quote. Changes in how UVA understands and represents its history. Take that in. It's profoundly powerful. I find the links to articles and local events in this newsletter helpful to me in my unpacking of the history unfolding around us, even if I don't read or explore them all, or if I just take in some of the headlines. It's a helpful tool. So I say thank you, Frank, for your commitment to racial justice and for helping make it possible for me and for others to join you in this vital work. You and your colleagues and your work are a blessing. Another local resource so helpful to me in my attempts to hold history with an open hand comes from beloved Community Seville. This is a local grassroots organization working to create social change and equity within the Charlottesville area. And in their newsletter earlier this month, they shared Dr. Jeline Schmidt's announcement of a new episode of the UVA Religion, Race, and Democracy Lab's Sacred and Profane podcast. The episode, entitled Site of Memory, examines the slave auction sites in our own Court Square and includes a conversation with Myra Anderson, a descendant of the Hearn family, some of who were sold in Court Square in 1829 and who were enslaved at UVA. It is a moving podcast and only about 22 minutes long, and I invite you to listen to it and to reflect on the power of this more accurate and honest retelling of some of the history of our town. Many of us continue to hold history in new ways as we keep working to understand racism and how to live as an anti-racist every day. It is important to look at history and to hold history with curiosity, to notice the underlying patterns, the narratives, and how they play out over time. The curiosity that I'm talking about is what Heather Plett describes when she writes, "When curiosity partners with discernment, it is balanced and not invasive. It creates openness and possibility. It holds space for potential and does not assume it already knows answers." With curiosity, we are able to ask ourselves, well, what do I think I know? And what do I need to explore more? And what am I curious about? Whose stories am I hearing and whose voices are missing? With these questions and new learnings, our own behaviors and actions can change for the better as our understandings deepen and we become wiser. As Maya Angelou said, do the best you can until you know better. Then when you know better, do better. And what of our own stories? As our storyteller Leah Morris reminded us this morning, it is so important for each of us to keep showing up and to keep exploring our place in our own stories. What are our own treasured stories about ourselves or our lives? What stories do we tell about our personal histories? Our opening hymn this morning reminded us that we are our grandmother's prayers, and we are our grandfather's dreamings. What might your ancestors have prayed and dreamed of for you? After you've spent some time reflecting on this question, you might want to share your thoughts with other family members or a friend. And then ask yourself, how might your neighbors answer the question of what their ancestors prayed and dreamed of for them? What about Crystal Wepepa, the indigenous chef that we heard about earlier, or the ancestors of Harvey Milk? And how about Myra Anderson, whose ancestors were sold in our own Court Square in 1829? Our work is to keep being curious about the history behind us and unfolding around us. To ask ourselves whose stories are being told, who is telling the stories. To ask ourselves who is the we are talking about. This question of who are the we has been such an important one for me to ask myself, because often the answer is not as inclusive as I assume it is. Our work, my friends, is to stay lovingly curious as we hold history, our own and that of others, our towns, our nations, our shared history, as we hold it, not with a firm and fevered grip, but with an open hand, allowing ourselves to be changed and allowing others to change. Amen, and blessed be. Our closing hymn this morning is one of my absolute favorites. It's one of our hymns that I invite you to carry with you and sing to yourself or with others whenever you need it. It's in our teal hymnal. It's number 1015. You don't need to look it up if you're in the sanctuary unless you want to, because the words will be projected. And the words remind us that as we face struggles and troubles, and as we carry our burdens, that naming our sorrows can help us in our healing, and that the power of love and community can give us hope and help us find our way. In the mix of all the good and the bad and the growth and the change, we go on. Now, this hymn is also written with very binary language. So we could hold it with an open hand, and in place of saying brothers and sisters, we could sing instead beloveds, and be ever more inclusive in our minds and in our hearts and in our actions. So I invite you to please join now by rising in body or spirit, and let us sing together.
And burdens weigh my see that destination clear. Those troubles may wait me at every turn, but I know, yes I know I can go on. So brothers, come and take my hand, and sisters, help me sing my song. For I know hope awaits me at every turn, and I know, yes I know we will go on.
As we go now from this time together, may we each hold history with reverence, sorrow, pride, remorse, anger, hope, and an abundance of curiosity. May we remember always that there are multiple truths to be heard, different lived experiences to be acknowledged, and many voices with stories waiting to be shared. May we be inspired to hold history with open hands. Amen, and blessed be. Go in peace.